Kevin, I think it would be time for you to step up and tell us how we can vote on your recommendations when those that just spoke gave section codes and so forth. Nothing that indicated we have the authority to change those things. Tell us about it.
Mayor Bankhead, we are aware of these issues that were going to be brought before you by the tow companies tonight, and these were issues we considered with our city attorney's office when drafting the ordinance, and I'm going to have City Attorney Elena Jurley go through those issues with you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. My name is Elena Jurley. I'm with the City Attorney's Office. I've worked with Captain Bankhead and the Police Department on drafting this ordinance, so I can speak somewhat to the legal aspects of this, hopefully.
You got the wrong captain in there, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say?
Captain Bankhead.
Oh, sorry. Mayor Bankhead.
That's all right. I was one time.
That was the ancient law.
Yeah, getting up to the podium, it just went to my head. I lost it. So I just want to address, generally speaking, this ordinance mirrors Vehicle Code Section 22658. Part of the reason why we took this on in the first place was because the current ordinance is consistent with 22658 in some respects and not in others, and so it makes it very difficult for us to enforce it because obviously each time we have to figure out, well, is this okay or is this not okay? So what we did was we scrapped the whole ordinance, we started again, and most of what we have with respect to regulating the towing companies reflects 22658. Now, as to our general authority to permit and regulate them, Section 21100 of the Vehicle Code does give us that authority. And I understand that the gentleman who spoke regarding whether they're doing business within the city or requiring exemptions for companies that are located outside the city that come in, our position is if you are coming into our city and you're doing business within our city, especially when you're doing something like towing a car, which is a big deal and is inherently risky and is very expensive for the people whose car is being towed, then you should comply with the regulations of our city. And that's what we require of other businesses, and tow companies really should not be any difference. There's really no indication in the Vehicle Code that we should not be allowed to do that. Now, the other thing that I wanted to say is sort of address generally what the purpose of Vehicle Code 22658 is overall. And it has been amended in the last few years in response to some Ninth Circuit cases. There's been amendments to the federal law to allow us to regulate for safety issues and also for rates. And basically what has happened in the last few years, and especially in the, I want to say the 2006 amendment, is that a number of sections were added to 22658 that really addressed the safety of the public, and in particular the safety of the person whose car was being towed. So the way that we're reading this code overall is that the idea is that we are limiting what tow companies can do. And the statute, the legislature has given the authority to the city to also legislate in this area. And the way we view 22658 is that it's really a ceiling for the tow companies, not for the city. And so that brings me back to the 10-mile radius that has been brought up a couple of times. And we understand that the statute says 10-mile radius from the location where the vehicle is towed. Now, in my opinion, in our opinion, in our office's opinion rather, not just my opinion, that is a radius that applies to the entire state. Now, if you're living in San Bernardino County or some county that is further inland or up north, where distances are much wider, then it makes a lot more sense. Even in the city of Los Angeles, it might make sense for a 10-mile radius. Although I have to tell you, I live there, and it takes a while to drive 10 miles in Los Angeles. So again, we believe that the 10-mile radius is an outside radius. It is not a limitation on the city. It is a limitation on the PPIs. So we created this map that you saw earlier to take a look at how far is it that our citizens would have to go to pick up their cars. And the 5-mile radius seems the most reasonable. And 7 miles and 10 miles immediately take us out into different counties. And as you saw, there were a lot of different companies that are now brought into this, and we now have to regulate. Clearly, the farther away they are, the less likely we are to be able to regulate their operations. So in some respects, we are not going to be able to regulate every aspect of what they do outside of our city. But of course, if their office is located on the edge of San Bernardino County, we really have almost no jurisdiction over there. It's going to be impossible for us to enforce it. So that's why we were thinking of a 5-mile radius. That seemed reasonable with respect to the city. Now, with respect to, I think that was there anything else that you wanted me to address?
And can I just jump in here?
Sure.
I mean, I appreciate everything you're saying, but I don't believe tonight that I can vote on this. I think there's way too many layers here. We have all kinds of codes being thrown at us. We don't have the information. You're talking about your opinion. I guess one of my big questions to the city manager is, what was the process in developing these new codes? Did you work with, who did you work with? I just believe that even if we look at it with the radius part from 5 to 10 miles, who was included in that? Do we notice businesses so that they have time to be here? As one of the gentlemen stated, he just got this. I mean, we put our agendas out. So I really would like to ask our council that we either engage in a study session on this entire topic. I think there's a lot more processing that needs to take place. I don't see the urgency in us needing to vote tonight from 5 to, or from 10 to 5 miles. And especially when we have all kinds of legal codes being thrown out at us, and, you know, you're saying most, or my opinion is, and I just think our public and our city deserves a lot more to this conversation, and I'm not willing to support this or vote on it tonight, and I'd like to come back with a study session on this.